a thumbs up so I will get recommended. That's the key. Make your people like your video so YouTube will recommend me. Hello YouTube friends and welcome to Sew Aldo. My name is Aldo and I make awesome sewing projects for beginners. So on today's episode, I am going to show you how to make a sheared top with sleeves. So a few weeks ago, I actually made this top, but I did it with wide straps on the shoulder. So today I decided to alter that to show you how to easily add sleeves on it. So if you like to see how I did it, be sure to stay tuned. But before we get started, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. So now let's begin.
So you will need two pieces of fabrics that measure 29 by 24 inches. I recommend you use a lightweight fabric so it gathers really easy. After that, I am going to hem the neckline because it will be difficult to hem it when the fabric is already sheared. And then I'm just going to sew it here all the way to the other end. Now that the necklines are done, it's time to shear the fabric or smock the fabric. And here I am using a small elastic. I think this is like an eighth of an inch. So I'm just going to place it close to the neckline and I'm going to leave about half an inch tail so I can easily grab the elastic as I sew. Don't forget to stretch the elastic as you sew, and I'm using a zigzag stitch and it's 1.4 stitch length. If you're wondering how much do I pull the elastic, it's up to you. If you pull it too much, then the gathers are going to be really tight, and then if you don't pull it too much, and then it's going to be not tight and it's going to be like wavy. So it's totally up to you. Be sure to test on a separate fabric to kind of figure out which one you prefer. Going to place the elastic the same way I did the first time, but this time I am placing it half inch away from the first elastic. And now I am going to backstitch. Now I am going to stretch two elastics just because you don't want to sew on a wrinkled fabric. After two rows of elastic, it should look like this. Hey, a sneak peek of my sewing area. After 12 rows of elastic, it should look like this. And keep in mind, your hands are gonna be tired stretching the elastic as you sew, but be patient, the result is going to be awesome.
So basically when I started my shearing, it is this length, okay? And then after I sheared it, it becomes half of that.
And this is when I made a mistake, a novice mistake that should not happen because I am not a beginner, but this tutorial is for beginners, so it kind of worked out. You can see I chop off the fabric in half. If you are going to recreate this fabric, don't do this right here. All honesty, I actually ran out of elastic. That's why I decided not to shear the back panel. But a good blouse should have a sheared back as well. Here I am joining the side seams.
Really nice from the front, but then when I turn around, back looks awful. So I am going to unstitch it and I'm going to gather stitch right here at the back.
To try to revive this project, I am going to shear the waistline of the back panel, match the side seams, and I'm going to join them again.
See, it doesn't look that bad anymore, like what it was before.
Really do recommend that you make another panel that looks like this one for the back piece of this blouse.
But anyway guys, learn from my mistakes. So use the same amount of the fabric for the panel, for the front and the back. so you will have more flowiness to the dress or to the top.
Now it's time to finish the hemlines. I'm just going to trim off the excess fabrics and I'm going to double fold it, then sew it all the way around. This is optional. If you want to add straps, you can go ahead, but if you wear it as a tube top, this top is not going anywhere because it is super tight. It's not going to slide down. The previous tutorial, I showed you how to add straps on the tube top. Now I am removing them and I will be putting a proper sleeves on because it's actually a very requested video, so that's why I am doing it for you guys. I will be using the scrap fabric that I found in my stash. If you have a sleeve pattern already, go ahead and use that. If not, you can easily use a t-shirt that is a loose fitting one, and then you can just easily trace the sleeve. That is super easy to do. The next thing I will do is fold the fabric in half, and I'm going to place the sleeve on fold. Instead of putting the sleeve on the fold, I decided to add extra 1/2 inch, and then I'll go ahead and trace the arm side and all the way down. I'm going to extend the sleeves just because I want it a little long, so I'm going to extend it all the way down by about 4 inches. I'm basically just following the curve of the arm side and I'm using a washable crayon. Don't forget to add about 1/2 inch seam allowances. Decided to extend the length of the sleeves so I will have more fabric to work with. Just in case I wanted puff sleeves, I can also add elastic on the hemline. So that is another look. If you like that, that is so easy to do. Just follow the shirring process that I showed you earlier, but instead put it on the hemline. I will pop a few pins so it doesn't move while I cut it because the fabric is so soft and flowy. Oh my gosh, my husband is so awesome. He made me a pegboard to organize my sewing notions. I'm going to cut out the sleeve and I will use this piece as my template for the other sleeve.
So I hope I have enough fabric, or else I will be in the world of hurt. And yay, we have enough. Oh my gosh, barely. I have barely enough fabric. But the sewing fairy is watching over me. Oh my gosh, sewing fairy. I love that.
Here I am going to trim off the shoulder slope because it was a little pointy, so I just had to trim it to curve it a little bit more. So now I am going to fold it like this and I am going to join the inseam.
And back stitch. Just like that.
To tame the edges, I will be using a zigzag stitch just because this is for a beginner, so most likely you don't have a fancy serger. Create half of the armhole. I am going to do 2 inches in and 2 inches down, and I'm going to cut a curve. I will repeat the same steps on the other armhole. Now you should have something like this. And now I'm going to open it up so I can match the half of the arm side of the sleeve. So I start matching the inseam just because there is no shoulder seams. So match that first and then pin it and work your way out. And be sure that the right sides of the fabrics are facing each other. If you are enjoying this sewing project, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And I'm going to sew it right here and same on the other side. You guys, when I was in college, I actually had a top or blouse that looks exactly like this one that I'm going to make. It's same color, black, and I absolutely love it. And I can't believe that it's actually pretty easy to make. Back then, I had no idea on how to sew or make any garments. So yeah. Now it's time to finish the shoulders. We'll use an elastic that is about 1/4 inch wide. So I am going to place it on the wrong side of the fabric. As you can see here, I am matching the raw edge of the shoulder and the elastic to get a rough estimate of how much elastic I will need. And it is about 14 inches long. I will have to trim that off later on once I finish shearing the shoulder. And you will need 2 pieces of elastic, one for each sleeves, obviously. And now I'm actually going to test a different method. A lot of you guys were asking if you can just use a straight stitch, and it actually worked just fine. So if you want to go ahead and use a straight stitch, you can do that. But keep in mind that it may not give you that same gather if you will use zigzag stitch. So as you can see here, I am going to be stretching the elastic as much as I could. This is also another frequently asked question, like how much you pull the elastic. The answer is it is up to you. Be sure that you do a test fabric first to figure that out, because sometimes if you don't pull the elastic enough, it's not going to gather. Pull it too much and then it's so tight and it's not going to give you that nice gather effect. So you have to find a happy medium that will work for you, and you can do that by testing on a separate fabric. This is the verdict. It actually works. So if you don't feel like using a zigzag stitch, you can totally use a straight stitch. It's time to trim off the excess elastic. I measured it and it's actually 7 inches. Before we started the shearing, it was 14 inches long and now it's only 7 inches. Now it's time to finish the raw edge of the shoulder. So I'm just going to fold it and then sew a straight stitch one more time or top stitch it. Also going to stretch the elastic as I sew because you don't ever want to sew on a wrinkled fabric. It will look awful. After I finish the shoulder, all what's left to do is finish the hemline. So I'm just going to double fold the hem of the sleeve and then sew it all the way around.